Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Monday nights, and welcome back to RCI TV for the grand finale of the Lamborghini Super Cup. We started the season all the way out in Kyalami, and we will now be finishing here at the home of Italy. It's the home of the Italian Grand Prix. It is Monza. And more importantly, we are here to wrap up the season as well. Mikhail Sundstrom on your screen, the leader in the Super Trofeo Championship Pro Class at this moment in time. And Vasilev Abeladze leading the GT3 class as well. A good, warm welcome to all of you this evening. Myself, Ryan Gill, will be leading the commentary team tonight. We have Jake Boswell behind the cameras as per usual. And we have the newly crowned SRO esports commentator all the way from America. It's Jesse Lee.
Yes, hello, and what an introduction, and what a day to be here for some Super Trofeo Super Cup action here. Of course, we have the GT3s and the Super Trofeos, a multitude of classes on display and championships to be decided in about half of them here today. Only a handful of points between some of the top drivers. It's going to be really interesting to see how they go about it. It's not the easiest track to have to come and either defend or attack for a championship. Of course, there's always the looming big one into turn one that you have to worry about as well. Ryan Gill, it's going to be an exciting race. Before that, it's going to be an exciting qualifying. Can't wait to get going.
Yes, the final qualifying session of the season to take place. Of course, 10 minutes for each car class, as it has been for the rest of the season so far. But qualifying will be very, very important here. A lot of drivers can't afford to have a bad qualifying because they're going into title-challenging races for the final time here in the Lamborghini Super Cup. Like you said, Jesse, a few drivers just separated by a couple of points in their hopes of taking a championship. I know it's particularly tight in the silver class, the top three just 6 points apart. We'll get on to the standings after the qualifying session that we'll have in just a couple of minutes' time. But reflecting on what has been a very competitive season so far, we saw Abeladze take a rather dominant stance in the first 3 races of the season. 3 fastest laps, 3 pole positions, 3 wins, but it all kind of went wrong last week at Paul Ricard for Abeladze, and of course that allowed Nico Kumpu to become the second winner in the GT3 class this season, and that means that they have a mathematical chance of clinching the championship here today. Abeladze still leads, of course, but Kumpu is only 23 points behind. It's very, very close, and the likes of Dario Bazaghi and John Aracer are still within striking distance of the title as well. So everything to play for. But as we come towards the end of practice, it's Jordan Daly right at the top for the pros. And we have quite a few silver drivers getting in and amongst the mix as well. Towards the top, we have seen that throughout practice in all of the rounds so far, but especially here at Monza, Jesse. You know, due to the nature of the track, most of the corners are very slow corners, or corners that you don't really lose too much time in, so it is expected to be that some of the silver drivers that are on the quicker end can definitely challenge up towards the top more frequently.
Yeah, it sure is. It's definite wild card. Whoever came up with this schedule must have put this, the finale, on the calendar with a bit of a smirk and a grin. They had to have known exactly what they were doing. It's something like I would do as well. And you always envision those Game 7 moments, those golden goal opportunities. Well, today could be that for Nico Kumpu in the 6. Doesn't have to do anything too fancy here today. Of course, as a reminder, the way this championship works, the points are split up between the GT3s and the Super Trofeo cars, meaning that it's not split up due to class. So if, for instance, Kingston Lee in the 555 won overall, he'd get 65 points, and Daly would get 58 for finishing second, assuming he did. So it's not split up by what division or category you're in. It's split up by, well, just your manufacturer, or your class essentially is separated by Super Trofeo on the bottom and GT3 on the top, and that is just about it. I'm a little worried, I have to admit, Ryan Gill. Abeladze in the race today. I know you will have all been looking at the top 20 at home, wondering, oh, is Abeladze not here? Abeladze is here. They just didn't run a single lap in practice. Is that confidence, or is that sort of trying to get your car ready at the last possible minute, I wonder?
It is interesting. It could be either or. We don't know. We'll have to see when it comes out. The benefit that Abeladze does have is that if it is car preparation, they still have a while to go yet before they need to be out on track for qualifying. Of course, with the 21-minute qualifying session we've used for all 4 races this season, it is going to be the first 10 minutes dedicated to the Super Trofeo cars. Then they have the 1-minute overlap where the Super Trofeos finish up their valid laps that they started. And then the GT3s will line up, and then once it hits the last 10 minutes, the GT3 Lamborghinis will head out onto the track, and they will have the rest of the session to themselves to finish out all of their qualifying laps. 10 minutes per class is what it is, essentially. For the folks at home, if you're new here, the Super Trofeo class might be something that you have not seen before in ACC. They're not a car class that is often used too much, and we did use them not too long ago in a Silverstone endurance race, so we decided to bring them out for the championship as well. And whilst the championship hasn't been as close in the Super Trofeo class compared to the GT3s, it is always fantastic, Jesse, to see a different car class out there on track. And these cars that they don't have a lot of popularity, and they're not liked that much around the sim racing community, but they put a smile on my face at least.
Well, it must put the smile on some of the drivers' face too. More to your point, it doesn't get used a lot, the Super Trofeo class, but certainly on this scale on RCI TV, whenever you're going to have a big championship like this, there are a lot of big name drivers that will gravitate towards a class that's less used, the same way that they might do with the GT4 class. I mean, names like Mikhail Sundstrom, Wolf Matuszka, Andy Boardman, Joe Dauber, etc., they gravitated towards that instead of taking a pro category position in GT3. No, they didn't want to do that. They wanted to challenge themselves, do something different. That's not my words, that's theirs. And I mean, Mikhail Sundstrom on top of that championship, 4 podiums this season. Incredible stuff. Mikhail Sundstrom's loving it, at least.
Yeah, they might be in the sad Super Trofeo voice chat at the moment, but those boys have not been sad this season. I can promise you that much. They have enjoyed this car, even if it has been frustrated at times. But here is Andy Boardman, a man that has impressed this season, and a man that will be looking to end his season in style in the number 69. Through the final corner he goes to start his first qualifying lap of the final qualifying session of the season. We will jump along with Andy Boardman and see where he goes along the long start-finish straight, and we come down to the infamous Turn 1, the Prima Variante chicane. In the GT3s, you'll be braking about the 150-meter board a bit earlier, I think, in the Super Trofeo cars. Get the car tucked in nice and early, ride the exit curb on the inside if you can, maximize your exit, and avoid the bumps on the inside of this little kink before you come into Curva Biasono, and you'll head up towards the Seconda Variante chicane, a long right sweeping corner. And then you move up towards this braking zone. You're looking for the orange marker on your right-hand side. That's your braking point. Slow the car down. Use second gear if you can, if not first. Maximize the exit if at all possible, and make your way up towards the first of the 2 Lesmo corners. You're looking for the curb on the inside. That is your braking marker. Then you want to extend the exit as much as you can. Look for the 50-meter board. You're braking between that and one of the white marked lines on the circuit. Extend the exit again as you launch yourself onto the Curva Seraglio, and you'll make your way down towards the Variante Ascari chicane. Through the tunnel you go, which goes underneath the old Monza circuit layout that is not used anymore. Look for the braking marker boards on your right-hand side. Get the car turned in nice and early. Ride the curbs as much as you dare to see how much time you can save. Maximize the exit. Just avoid the gravel, and take all of that tarmac as you can, keeping 2 tyres on the white lines. And now down towards the final corner, which has been renamed. It's no longer called the Curva Parabolica, but in this version of Monza, it is the Curva Parabolica. And into the final corner we go. Hug the inside line, get the throttle down early, and maximize your exit. Don't go too wide. And up towards the timing line, Andy Boardman will go. The lap looked a tiny bit scruffy, but it won't be too bad for a banker lap. It's a 152.3 for Andy Boardman to start out the session.
Yeah, it could use a little bit of cleaning up, but that's why you have the first lap. You want to go out there and mission accomplished for Boardman there. Get the first lap in. It doesn't have to be an incredibly fast one, just something on the board, something that you can rest on in case it all goes a bit pear-shaped. I don't think it will for Boardman, and I think there will be an improvement. How scruffy was it? Inconclusive, that 52.332, holding up so far against the Super Trofeo field, including Mikael Sundstrom, championship leader, a 10th off of that mark. So even still looked pretty darn decent for Boardman, as everyone will set out on a second and third lap with better brake temperature, better tire pressure, and of course a little bit more confidence, hopefully, and also a keener eye on some of these corners. As you get more confident and you get a little bit faster, you also get a lot more aggressive. Don't know how aggressive you want to be in a Super Trofeo car, Ryan Gill, as I've driven it only a handful of times, and it is not the most confidence-inspiring automobile, but rather beside the point. You have to get on with it in this case and take it to its absolute limit. It's a joy to see somebody drive these cars in general, but to drive them at a pro level like some of these guys are is pretty darn exciting as well.
It is exciting. Andy Boardman's lap, by the way, was about half a second off of what he achieved in practice just a few minutes ago. So half a second is the minimum that Andy Boardman will be looking to find in this qualifying session to make up on his lap time. Well, he's found 2/10 immediately as he finishes his second lap of the session. Thomas Baranowski coming across the line as well, improving by about 3.5 of a second, but stays fourth place. Stefan Van Aken comes across the line and puts their car into fifth place, just 0.8 of a second off of provisional pole, and Les Stephenson only 0.9 off. Here is Wolf Matuszka, though, the man that everyone's been watching this season. Didn't get a good banker lap in, comes around, and it's much better this time around, but it's 1.1 seconds off of Andy Boardman and a second off of Mikael Sundstrom as well. It's not a good start to the qualifying session for Wolf Matuszka, as Tim Ireland comes across the line, sitting 11th at this point in time. Does improve, but not enough to change places.
Yeah, for Wolf Matuszka, I'm forced to assume that they're just not getting the lap time they're looking for, that's not all they have. They're just not getting the lap. They're not putting it together. Maybe making a few mistakes here in this quali session, maybe not getting some of the grip or the turn-in. You'd be hard-pressed to assume it's mechanical in any way. Maybe just not getting the lines and the lap, putting it all together, very important, and not happening for Wolf Matuszka, being so far off of where you would expect their pace to be. Top three does continue to be Boardman, Sundstrom, and Dauber. I would say the usual suspects up front if it hadn't been for the very pink Super Trofeo, and there's my case in point right there as well. Just not getting the lap. Ryan Gill runs wide in the second Lesmo, and all of a sudden it has to reset there.
Yeah, it's difficult qualifying session so far for Wolf Matuszka, and we'll have to see. It looks like he is going to come back out onto the circuit. Not going to have too much time, though, to come out. We'll have the ability to come out, do an outlap, and then start their final flying lap, I believe. But it's going to be a bit touch and go as far as Matuszka's lap time. Meanwhile, look towards the top of the order. Andy Boardman has not improved on his lap time with his latest lap, but he has started another flying lap now, and he is up by about 0.5 as well. So Andy Boardman struggling to find the time that he achieved in practice. It is important to remember that practice took place earlier in the morning and qualifying takes place later in the afternoon. So practice takes place at the same time that the race would, but qualifying has taken place at 3 o'clock in the afternoon for every round this season. It's been the one consistency that the drivers have had to deal with, is that the qualifying conditions have, for the most part, been the same, bar a few degrees of difference every single circuit. Joe Dauber is up on his lap time at the moment, by the way, by about 0.3 of a second coming into the final corner now. So the 777 comes around the Parabolica and launches onto the start and finish straight, and Joe Dauber has just gained a bit more time coming out the corner as well, 3.5. Up towards the timing line we go, and Joe Dauber stays fourth, but is now just 0.2 of a second off of provisional pole, and that's a very good lap from the 777.
Yeah, it's frustrating for Dauber to be so close yet so far away as a car losing it in the background there as well. And the Lesmos is so easy to
And
do,
the Sunstrom.
especially in a super Trofeo car. Oh, and Mikhail Sundstrom, uh, that's not what you wanted or expected from the driver who's now on the second row. They've reset to the pit lane. So is Dauber in the 777 as qualifying continues and is coming down to the end. I don't think Sundstrom and Dauber are going to be able to come back out and get a timed lap. So I'm pretty sure their qualifying is over. But what about Andy Boardman trying to improve, and I think does ever so slightly again? A 52.164, making it 1/10 to Baranowski, the AM driver in second. And speaking of the 35 ST, they have reset to the pit lane. Nobody out there except Boardman right now. Very close there. Lestreppen, or at least Stevenson, sorry, in the 6th place position. And of course, a little bit of a tow down the straightaway as Wolf Matuszka is going to get one more shot at it.
Yeah, Wolf Matuszka crossed the line with 3 seconds remaining of this Super Trofeo qualifying session. That means he is allowed to finish this lap. It does still count as valid. And the stewards, the live stewards that we have here monitoring the qualifying session today, they will not be taking any action against that. You might be able to see some movement in the pit lane, by the way, from the GT3 cars. They're all starting to line up at the end to go out first for their session because they will be released from pit lane in about 20 seconds time. So they're getting ready. We'll stay with Wolf Matuszka at this stage, though, on board with him as he comes through the first of the Lesmos now. And Wolf Matuszka trying to find as much as he can. And I'll tell you what, Jesse, he's up by a massive amount at the moment. He's up by enough to send himself pole position, but he needs to keep the lap valid. He was very, very wide on the exit of the second Lesmo, but he has kept it between the white lines, and that is what's important. Wolf Matuszka up on his lap time by 1.3 seconds. This is enough to send him onto pole position with the final lap of the Super Trofeo qualifying of the season. Sends it through. Ascari looks very, very tight on the exit, but he keeps it between the white lines. It's still valid. And now he's just got one more corner to go, one more braking point to nail for Wolf Matuszka. He wants to challenge for that title. He wants to retake the lead in the finale here for the Super Trofeo Championship in the Pro Class. Through the final corner he comes. Is he going to make one big step with some pole position points to start his evening off? He comes over the line, and it is pole position, and by 0.8 of a second right at the end.
Well, if you are attempting to challenge for a championship in the finale, that is how you do it. Not only do you out-qualify the man that you're trying to beat, you get points that they don't get. It is game on in Super Trofeo for that challenge today, and an excellent lap. Mikhail Sundstrom called it quits early, and you wonder how much of that he regrets now. But for Wolf Matuszka, it is oh so sweet. Spent the entire quali session outside the top 5 and ended up having to reset. Got one last lap, Ryan Gill. He had to do it, do or die, and he did. And not only did he do it, by a lot. I would be afraid if Matuszka is able to do that all race, what that race is going to look like for everybody else. That's a lot of pace.
It is a lot of pace, and we'll have to see if that is just qualifying pace or if you can replicate that into race pace as well. We're on board here with Dario Bazaghi, by the way, who has just started the first lap of the GT3 Lamborghini qualifying session through the Prima Variante chicane. He has gone, and he comes out now onto the Curva Biasono, and you will see that the lap is a bit quicker here in the GT3 cars. Obviously being the quicker of the two classes that we have here this season. And coming up towards the Seconda Variante chicane now, shifting down the gears. You can just see there on the left-hand side, keeping the car in second gear. That's what you want to do if at all possible. If you have to shift down to first, you might as well do it. Don't want to end up in the gravel, but if you can keep that car in second, it will gain you time going through the corner and on the exit as well. Nice and early on the cut-in, and then just goes a tiny bit wide, clips the grass there, you would have seen as the car dipped down slightly on the exit. That would have slowed down the number 8 slightly on this lap, but it means that the lap is still valid And as we come down towards the Ascari chicane now, see how much of the Ascari chicane he cuts. Definitely a lot on the entry. Riding those anti-cuts with the right-hand side of the car and wide as well. Not as wide as we saw some of the Super Trofeo cars on their first lap around, but wide enough and not too wide to keep the car on a valid lap as well as we come up towards the Curva Parabolica for the first flying lap of the GT3 qualifying session in the finale here at Monza. Up towards the timing line we go for Dario Bizzaghi, cuts towards the inside line to save as many tenths of a second, as many milliseconds as he can. And it's a 1:48.207 to start the session, 21 thousandths quicker than what Abeladze has managed to do on his first flying lap. So that's a very good showing from Bizzaghi.
Igor Kumpo is going to come across the line third, 6/10 off that pace. Durrett is through, the fastest silver car, up in fourth place, but 1.1 off the ultimate pace. Jordan Daly in chat was confirming my earlier suspicion that maybe Abeladze was just confident. Jordan Daly says Abeladze has a 57 in the bank there. So we haven't seen that yet, but that was just the opening shots fired there. But either way, Jordan Daly, or excuse me, 47 in the bank for Abeladze, says Jordan Daly. We didn't see that yet, but ooh, Jordan Daly spilling the tea and also taking third place in the fight for the pole position in the GT3 class. So if Daly thinks Abeladze has a 47, Jordan Daly, did they have a 47? They're very, very close, only 2/10 off.
I'm pretty sure Abeladze does have a 47 in him, Jesse. He's up by over half a second at this point. That would put them well into the 47s, 47.7, I think, around about at this stage. We'll see what they can manage as they come up towards the end of the lap. This is Kalatayud we're watching right now in the number 300 car in the silver class, making their way through, and Hutchinson there in the 350 in the AM car up into 7th overall. That is a very, very good lap time from Alex Hutchinson as Abeladze's come up towards the timing line just now. Jesse, I'll be able to tell you exactly what he's done. It's a 47.5 for Abeladze. So into the 47s, Jordan Daly was correct. And, well, Abeladze has given the rest of the field some work to do here tonight to catch up for that pole position. They're going to have to earn it.
Well, the way that Daly made it sound is that it's going to be rarefied air, that 47, but I think that there's going to be a couple of other challengers. And Daly also, meanwhile, spilling the tea for Abeladze, didn't tell us anything about his pace or what he had. So it'd be interesting to see how that all goes down. The only driver in the 47s is Abeladze right now, as Hubert Hauser is going to come across the line and get a lap on the board, a 50.574 there near the back end of the field, some 3 seconds off the overall pace, and in fact only about 7/10 in front of the ST field. You definitely want to get out of that. Rudy Philmatter here trying to pick up, and does, all the way to 13th of 49.302. That's a little bit more like it, picking up about 3/10 on that lap. Daly goes second, by the way, 6/10 off the pace, and so is Kumpu, but just a little bit, to find 1/100th slower than Daly is good enough for third. We've seen this all season with the Lamborghini Super Cup, haven't we? That the times in qualifying are very, very close together. I mean, as you would expect, you have equal machinery, very different drivers, though. It's been an absolute treat qualifying because it has been so close, and it's going to go down to the wire here. Just wait and see.
I don't mean to interrupt you, Jesse, but Bizzaghi had a bit of a slow exit from the Parabolica curve. Up towards the timing line they go. They're up by 0.6 of a second. That will take them 45 thousandths behind Abeladze, but Abeladze would then improve only slightly. It's 93 thousandths of a second between the two cars on the front row. Bizzaghi still has pace in this car, and it looks like Abeladze does indeed. So these two look like the two that can challenge today for pole position. And will Bizzaghi possibly deny Abeladze? That's what Nico Kumpu will need tonight if he's going to be challenging for the championship. He won't want Abeladze to pick up any more additional points before the race begins.
Well, keep in mind, Barzaghi's not out of this championship either. We'll bring you the standings
Mm-hmm.
post-qualifying here in a few minutes. So Barzaghi's not only fighting for extra points, like you said, he's trying to take it away from Abeladze and give himself a better shot to win this championship. There's so many storylines. We'll be talking about them through the entire race here as Daly comes through, does improve quite mightily, but is still 0.2 off the pace at the moment. As the times keep tumbling and more cars enter the 47, it feels like the ST qualifying, where maybe the last car on the track will have the last say in it. Matthew Kingston Lee goes up to the 7th place at a 48.684. The times keep coming down, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon. Things getting very close. 1 minute to play here, and a lot on the line. Points for the pole position winner.
Dario Barzaghi comes into the final corner for what will be expected to be the penultimate time. They will get one more flying lap out of here. They are up on their time. They have gained the time that they lost on the last run by. They'll come over the line. This will put them provisional pole, 45 thousandths ahead of Abeladze, but Abeladze will take it straight back by almost a 10th and a half. It is very, very close. Abeladze has abandoned the final lap. So that means Dario Barzaghi will get one more shot to try and beat Abeladze to pole position for the final round of the season.
I hate to use this old adage, but it's like a couple of prize fighters throwing haymakers, and it's excellent to see Barzaghi with that incredible lap. And Abeladze said, yeah, watch this, and immediately hit him with a left hook. And so far, both of them in contention. Abeladze's in pit lane. He says he's done. A 47.349 for your potential pole sitter. Abeladze's done, but Barzaghi is not. Everyone chasing that mark. That 47.5 up front. That is incredible stuff. Oh my goodness, how incredible could this be? Rudy coming to the line improves to 13th place. What does Barzaghi have? Daly's in the pit lane as well.
I'll tell you how close it is, Jesse. Barzaghi's up on his lap time by a 10th. Just over a 10th now. It's going to be so close. If Barzaghi can get a 10th and a half, that will be enough for pole position in the final round of the season. They've got 2 tenths coming out of the Ascari chicane. It's all on Dario Barzaghi. It's into the final corner. 2.5 tenths. If they can retain it through the final corner, through the corner parabolica, this will be enough. The bonus points for pole position. The best place on the grid to start for the finale this season. Barzaghi comes out of the final corner. They haven't lost the time. This is going to be pole. Dario Barzaghi takes pole position for the final round of the season by a 10th and a half to the championship leader, and you can't say he didn't earn it.
Oh, Dario Barzaghi knew it too. He came to the line, flashing the lights in victory. Bonus points for your 3rd place in the championship driver, and the opening shot in this championship finale is thrown in qualifying. You just have to wonder, did Abeladze do something that invalidated his lap, or was that just a bit of hubris? I don't know, but Daly's going to end up cycling out 3rd unless anything incredible happens, as the last few qualifiers do come across the line. In fact, Hauser improves a couple of positions as well. It ends up 3rd in the AM class for GT3. What excellent qualifying at both classes, ST and GT3. Some of the last qualifiers across the line were the quickest, and you had Matushka with that desperation lap, and Barzaghi was the last bullet in the chamber and got it done. This is what this championship has been throughout. It's been incredible, and that's just qualifying, Ryan. We've got a race to do.
Yep, we do have a race tonight, and we will be bringing you the championship standings in just a moment, but incredible lap times out from both Dario Barzaghi and Wolf Matushka to clutch pole position on the final time by. And, well, I mean, you wouldn't want it any other way, would you, Jesse Lee? It's exactly what we love from a qualifying session, and it's exactly what we love to see at the final round of the season. Here are the standings, by the way. Vashilev Abeladze are 216 points at the moment, 23 points over his closest rival, Nico Kumpu, who will start fourth on the grid here tonight. Dario Bazaghi, who just took pole, will get a few additional points on his tally. He'll be sitting around 190 at this point in time, so closes the gap slightly, and has John Aracer for company just behind as well in the 699. They've qualified 8th today, but they are still in championship contention. Also in championship contention is the likes of Jordan Daly and Nico Quizma, who are 5th and 6th in the championship, but they are hoping for an absolute miracle here tonight. To put it into perspective, they'll be hoping that a lot of the AM field finish ahead of the 4 above them. That's how difficult the challenge is here tonight. But nonetheless, 6 cars in the pro class in contention for the championship. The Walt Roskam doesn't join us for the final round of the season, unfortunately. And neither does Andre Verona, and they'll be missing out on the final round of the season. Quarati in 9th, though, and Asberg Ertan, who had signed out of the championship already earlier on. Moving on to the silver class, it is Matthew Kingston Lee with a 5-point lead over Carlos Calatayud into the final round, and then just 1 point behind is Martin Butizen as well. 6 points separates the top 3, and then just 10 points behind as well. It is Mark Peters. He's definitely in that battle as well. Theoretically, every car in the silver class could win the championship here tonight, even all the way down to Tobias Sontag, although for the likes of Vlad Will, Lieutenant Daniel Duret and Tobias Sontag, it is going to be a very difficult challenge to overcome. And then into the AM class, where it is very, very close as well. Masatoshi Kaneko, the Japanese driver we have here, 64
That was the
points,
understatement, by the way, of the century.
tied with Rudy Filmalter, the South African driver. And then 5 points behind is both Alex Hutchinson and Hubert Halser. And, just 8 points behind them is Daniele Ricciardo. So very, very close between them. 13 points separating the top 5. Rob Quantrill a bit further back as well, with Denis Platil, Andrew Lysenko, Kari Hapanimi, and Luis Villa Mas as well. And just a bit further down, we have Michael Jacobson and Chris Humphreys. Stefan Berner, Daniel Farrion, and Mark Webb all signed out of the championship, and they have no points. Onto the Super Trofeo Pros, and it is Wolf Matuszka who trails Mikhail Sundstrom by 40 points, 245 to 205. Joe Dorber is a bit further behind Wolf Matuszka by 11 points, and we'll be hoping that Wolf Matuszka doesn't have a great race today, but Wolf being on pole has made that a bit more difficult. Andy Boardman, of course, will be looking to take 3rd place in the championship from Stefan Van Aken, who is just behind, and then Les Stephenson, who could also potentially finish in the top 5 this season, should things go his way. Alexander Gulya has unfortunately signed out for the season, and Chris Ribler and Tom Otti, as we mentioned at the start of the season, have not made an appearance this season. They were unfortunately unable to start. Tomasz Baranowski leads the way in AM, and he has a pretty comfortable lead at this stage, but does not mean that Miska Suominen isn't still in championship contention, and Tim Ireland has very, very outside hopes of a championship as well. Richard Hutchins, no chance of a championship for them, but they can still challenge for a top 3 spot, and Joe Gleason as well. Zeljko Madzo, who I believe Joe Gleason and Zeljko Madzo are not here tonight, unfortunately, but Arasom Abukumov is here tonight, and then it's Nicholas Smith just behind with 23 points, and Zamfir Radu, who still hasn't made an appearance this season, also with 0 points. So those are the championship standings, Jesse Lee. As we come into the final round of the season, we are 50 seconds away from the start of the formation lap, and Jesse, the hair's starting to stand up on the back of the neck. It's starting to all get a bit exciting down here at Monza. It is 6 or just past 6 in the evening, and we have a very, very exciting race on our hands. One thing is for sure here tonight, Jesse Lee. A champion in each class will be crowned, but it is by no means decided yet.
Well, everyone's going to earn it, aren't they? It's so close in most of the classes. I don't think we oversold it when we came on air and we talked about having nearly half, if not a bit more, of the classes in a championship battle today, and perhaps we might have undersold it. Do you know, I was going to begin with a thought tonight. I wasn't sure how I felt about the championship points being given out this way, where it's not a driver class, it's a car class that determines points. I didn't know how I felt about that because I've spent my entire life where if you are a Pro-Am driver, you get Pro-Am points, but I think it's worked out an absolute treat here. Look at GT3 AM. There's a tie for first and third. 4 cars are all tied, and all 4 of them are within a handful of points, less than a handful of points, you could argue, from each other. You could effectively have a 4th place car win this championship by finishing 1 position in front of the championship leader. That's incredible stuff. It's one of those seasons that I think we'll remember for quite some time. And I'm now officially a fan of the championship points being done this way. I want to see this format come back. I want to see this format go into other series, maybe a Friday Endurance Championship, and see what happens to that points championship. So much here on the line. The nerves will be up. Nobody wants to be a loser. Everyone wants to be a winner. In fact, everyone that is alive today was born a winner. Right? So you want to continue that trend. So the thing today for Barzaghi is continue what you've started. You have a chance to win this championship. You're going to need a little help. Get up there and get it done. The same thing with Kumpu. Kumpu's going to have to come from the second row of the grid, which isn't that big of an ask. But of course, all throughout the field, you have the same stories. We're going to try and keep you up to date with all of them. Wolf Matuszka in Pro ST has an outside shot of winning that championship. It was 40 points coming in. I think it's closer to 35 now because he has the pole position. Incredible stuff. Still needs some of his championship rivals to have a poor day. But just like round 4 with Abeladze, we know nobody is invincible. It can happen to anybody. And never forget, everybody, we're at Monza.
Yes, we are at Monza, and it's all gone wrong for one car already. Abukumov was not ready when the lights went out for the start of the formation lap. And that has meant that the number 11 will start from pit lane. So unfortunately on the back foot already for Abukumov, and yeah, not the ideal way that you want to start the season finale. But like you said, Jesse, we're at Monza here tonight. It could be a blessing starting from the pit lane. You could be able to avoid anything that happens down at turn 1. And whilst we are talking about potential incidents, it is worth reminding you all that this season is live stewarded. The final race is live stewarded, of course, as well. And the stewards will be looking out to make sure that there are no shenanigans going on here tonight. Because the last thing we want is a championship decided by penalties. But if a driver does need to be given a penalty for an incident, the stewards will do so. And they have a lot of work on their hands. This is the race that they'll have been dreading from the start of the season. And we're finally here. The season hasn't been too bad in terms of lap 1 accidents. It has been fairly clean, apart from round 1 at Kyalami, where it was a bit scrappy, but has to be said, it was tight with all those cars going down towards turn 1. We had near 50 cars at the start of the season. But here we go then, through the final corner on formation lap speed for the final time this season. The Lamborghini Super Cup is about to start its final race of the season. It's 6:08 in the evening. We have a 75-minute race here at Monza, Lamborghini on home turf. And the finale will be underway. Will it be Abeladze who takes the crown in GT3? Will it be Mikael Sundstrom that takes the crown in Super Trofeo? There's many other races on as well. We'll find out. Karati's got a drive-through penalty right at the start for being out of place on the grid. That's going to put them on the back foot already. But Barzaghi's had a major start, and he's got the jump on Abeladze as well, who's under pressure from the likes of Kumpu and Daly, and Kumpu just got on the grass slightly, does manage to get it under control, and I think the likes of Wolf Matuszka got caught up in an incident at the start because they're towards the back of the field, Jesse.
It's not only Wolf Matuszka, it's Andy Borgman as well. You have to wonder why they were so far out of position. Was that on purpose? I wouldn't think so, especially for the two of them trying to fight for a championship. I think maybe something happened. We'll have to see if we have a replay of that. Meanwhile, Jordan Daly here is continuing to fight Abeladze here. He was immediately like that on the off, and it continues to be the case. And now being joined by 2 or 3 more cars now. Looks like he's going to get it. Oh, it's going to be contact. Jordan Daly has contact with Nico. Nico Kumpu there, and that's not what either one of those drivers would have wanted on lap 1. The stewards will look at that. Abeladze gets clear in second, and not a moment too soon. Meanwhile, Barzaghi is gone by a half a second in front. Daly now in third, and it's going to cycle out. Catalina is going to be in the 4th place position as the 6 went for a wild old ride in the Lesmo.
Nico Kumpu was involved in an incident with the likes of Jordan Daly, but they have somewhat recovered. They are in 10th place. They haven't lost too much ground, which is the important thing
recovery
for Nico Kumpu. Yeah, they managed to keep it on the track and got it back on safely as well, I would assume. So it's not been a terrible moment for them, and they are still in contention here. But as we get to the end of the final first flying lap, it is Dario Barzaghi who leads the way, did exactly what they needed to do. And thanks to Jordan Daly scrapping with Abeladze behind, they have a 1.1 second lead, but Abeladze is firmly chasing them down. Jordan Daly, who will be under investigation, now has the likes of Calatayud in the silver class, who will be wanting to get onto the overall podium for the final round of the season, because they want to challenge for as many places as they can in silver. And as you mentioned, Jesse, it's the overall position in your car class that counts. And that is what has encouraged all these silver and AM drivers this season to really get amongst the cars in a different class and try and get themselves some bonus points.
Well, Mikael Sundstrom cannot believe their luck in the 899 Lamborghini ST, can they? Because they weren't on the front row of the grid, and now all of a sudden, with whatever would have happened, in fact, we're going to take a look at this. This is coming to the green flag. The green flag's not full now, and there it does. And contact there with the car in front got loose and hip-checked Andy Boardman.
That will be something the stewards will be reviewing immediately on what happened with the start. So Wolf Matuszka and Andy Boardman are going to be under investigation from the stewarding team. It has...
very strange.
It was very strange, and, well, I mean, the one thing the stewards can be grateful of is the fact that there was no massacre down towards turn 1, so it has been very clean in that essence, and there's just been a couple of incidents on lap 1 that they need to investigate, and I'm sure they would have hoped for that tonight more than anything, but it has been a good start from our race leaders, Barzaghi and Abeladze. They're doing well, but way further back, it is so tight together. All the cars still so very close as we come to the end of the second racing lap here at Monza. And here is Matthew Kingston Lee, the leader of the silver class in the championship, but only by 6 points to the likes of Carlos Calatayud and Martin Putizan. And the way it stands right now, Jesse, it would be Calatayud who takes home the championship because of how much higher up he is in the overall position. And for Matthew Kingston Lee, that is not good news because Tobias Sontag is firmly on his tail at this point in time, and that's the problem. He has to look forwards towards Calatayud, and he has to look backwards as well to make sure he doesn't lose any more places overall.
Well, Kumpu has to be very smart about this. You have to assume, based on qualifying, based on the championship standings, that Kumpu is faster than the drivers in front, so you have to be mindful of that. Meanwhile, Barzaghi's lead has evaporated. It was over a second. Now it is only 1/10. Abeladze is on the charge, trying to win the final race and put an exclamation point on this championship. We covered a lot of races this season with Abeladze being one of the main threads, the big talking point, and they haven't been able to really close on some of them. And today, trying to show that they are the dominant GT3 Lamborghini championship driver here today. We'll have to see if that turns out to be the case. Barzaghi still in front, and giving him the nose is Abeladze as we ride on board with him as we enter Ascari. Just a little fake. That wasn't a real move. That's just a little fill up the mirrors sort of move. The head games. Racing is so much physical as it is mental. A better exit out of Ascari was Abeladze as he'll go down to the inside here. Given the inside by Barzaghi, that's very strange. Normally you see them defend a little bit harder. In fact, does there finally as Abeladze has to back off. But a very wide turn in Parabolica, incredibly wide. Can they get the slingshot from Barzaghi, or was that it for Abeladze? Now side by side, pulling back together, but Abeladze will lead that lap and has the preferential line going down to the turn 1. I don't think he's going to get clear.
No, it's going to be very close. Barzaghi, is he going to break later than Abeladze? He is! He's going to cut across the front as well! Wow, Barzaghi retakes the lead into the first corner, outbreaks Abeladze. And my word, it is absolutely incredible from the two leaders. You would think both of these two were fighting for the championship here today, and well, they technically are. My word, whilst Bazagi knows that he needs to win today, and I suppose he's willing to risk it all if it means finishing in front of Abeladze.
I would have lost a lot of money in Vegas right there. I would never have guessed that the 8 was going to be able to do that. Now, side by side again, keeps giving him the inside. Why would Barzaghi be doing that? I think it's going to end up with him being second here as they enter the second Lesmo. And it is clear, finally, Barzaghi has given up that position. Abeladze, your championship leader, now the leader of the race. I'm scratching my head, Ryan. Why would the 8 give him the inside?
I wonder if Bazagi is content enough right now to just let Abeladze have it and just tow himself along with the 579. Of course, Jordan Daly in behind as well. And Carlos Calatayud, they're both catching because of the squabbles that those two are going through right now. Bazagi maybe just wants to get towed along and get pulled away from the rest of the pack. Matthew Kingston Lee, at this moment in time, is still under pressure from the likes of Nico Kumpu and still trying to keep in touch with the likes of John Aracer, who is just ahead of them, putting pressure on Mark Peters at this point in time. And as we do come on to the next lap, it will be Abeladze that leads again. And Bazagi, this time around, I don't think will be close enough to have a move into turn 1. But I tell you who does look close enough to have a move into turn 1. It's going to be Carlos Calatayud, the Spaniard in the silver class. Bazagi's also going to go to the inside line as well. It looks like both of them going to try moves, and Calatayud putting Daly under so much pressure. But Jordan Daly manages to deal with it and will survive for another corner.
Well, this racing up front between the 579 and the 8 is bringing Daly back into this, and Calatayud also coming through. You talked about Calatayud leading the Silver Championship. Yes, that's true. Of course, a big benefit of Kumpu being shot out of the middle there was the fact that the 300 gained another place. Remember, they're racing for a championship in their class, yes, but they're also racing for overall points. You don't get class points, you get overall points, as Kingston Lee has to hit the eject button there, and probably rightly so. The stewards won't care about that at all. Preferential that you don't cause an incident and do
Rejoined behind Kumpu as well, so they didn't gain any time either.
I mean, and safely rejoined as well. Stayed on the right side. That's how you draw it up. That is how the sporting regulations here state that you should do that. And for Kingston Lee, very smart. You live to fight another day. That's exactly what you want to do. This is the leader in ST Pro, Mikael Sundstrom. He didn't start out front, certainly. He was gifted. I think gifted is the right word here. The lead in the race, and now doesn't have a challenge. Is 5.5 seconds ahead of Van Aken now in the in the ST Pro class, as there is a silver car in between them, and now they've gone through. So the fighting does continue between Daly and Calatayud as they come through. Parabolic, very close. I don't think he's going to be able to hang on to it, Ryan.
No, Daly's car was twitching when he was coming through the Parabolica. His car doesn't look comfortable going through that corner. Calatayud caught up so much through the Parabolica. Is going to be on the outside line into the braking zone, and can they turn that into the inside line? No, they're going to back out of it. And rather sensibly, I feel as well, Calatayud knows that if they remain in this position, they will be champion in silver. Why make any silly moves on a car that is a different class to you? Yes, you'll get some bonus points, but at this stage in the race, it doesn't matter because Matthew Kingston Lee is too far down the order to make a difference.
I wonder if Calatayud knows what the points are. Certainly they would have had an idea of how many positions apart would end up being right around the championship lead. Maybe they have teammates and friends that are doing the live points for them, or maybe they have somebody listening to the broadcast, and then they would know that the 300 is the championship leader in GT3 Silver. We're going to go back to a race replay. This is Barzaghi, who had fallen off of Abeladze after the fight. So what happens to the 8? A little bit wide here. Oh, and nearly loses it, but is able to save it. But that's going to throw them right in the back where Jordan Daly is.
So Bazagi just not getting an ideal line out of there. And Abeladze's also just got traffic already. The likes of Joe Dorber, who had to come into the pit lane, I think, to repair his car after an incident on lap 1. Has unfortunately now found himself as traffic early on. moving out of the way for the likes of Abeladze and Bazagi as well now, and it's one of the issues that you sometimes get early on in the race if you've got an accident. And, oh, here we go. 15-second time penalty for Jordan Daly. I don't think we need to do any investigation into what that was for, Jesse Lee. That will be for the incident on lap 1 between himself and Niku Kumpu.
Yeah, right, you are. I mean, I'll read it out anyway, but 15 seconds for the 197 of Jordan Daly, avoidable contact, and the penalty upped due to it being a lap 1 incident. So that might have been a 5-second variety, simply because it was semi-accidental, perhaps, maybe lost the car on the inside of the corner, but you know, you are responsible for your car and the control of it. So a penalty magnified by it being on lap 1. That's not what the 197 would have wanted, but I almost feel Jordan, a smart guy, he knew that was coming.
Yeah, I think Jordan Daly would have known it was coming. Here is the replay, by the way, of what exactly happened between Jordan Daly and Nico Kumpu. Jordan Daly on the inside. Yep, just clips.
It's just not on the apex.
No, yeah. Puts him onto the gravel, and Kumpu loses about 6 places, I believe that was, or 7 places, rather. Has managed to regain a few of those now, and is firmly on his way towards catching the likes of John Eraser. But either way, it has damaged Nico Kumpu's chances of the championship here today. And that penalty coming out to Jordan Daly is unfortunate. He'll serve it if he does a pit stop in this race. If not, he will take it added onto his total race time at the end of the race. But speaking of Jordan Daly, he's now going to have a look at Dario Bazagi. He's seen the penalty. He knows he needs to get a move on, and he wants to look to take 2nd place here overall. He's on the outside line, and he is going to get the move done. Jordan Daly gets the move done. He's wide, but it isn't wide enough to invalidate his lap. It still comes across as green on my timing board. And Jordan Daly gets the move done on the outside in fantastic style against Dario Bazagi. But now the number 8 has the slipstream. He's going to go towards the inside line. We've seen a few cars go for the outside line when they've been trying to make overtaking moves into turn 1. But Dario Bazagi just going to do it to help fill the mirrors for Jordan Daly. Not going to look to make an overtake just yet.
That was an excellent pass by Daly. That can work at Parabolica. You have to be brave on the brakes around the outside and get the shot around the outside, not be impeded. And you can beat them down the straightaway. Didn't really even need that for Daly. Just had the grip and had the turn to get it done and to stay and keep it. It was great as well. The lap car very nearly caused panic for Dario Barzaghi, but doesn't, as all is clear and fair there. But for just a split moment, it looked like the 8 car was going to have some major dramas here in the early goings. I know we didn't talk about this because there was so much action at the start. This is a 75-minute race. You would have noticed that as well. Something else you may have noticed is, of course, there is no pit stop, no mandatory stop. We've had some debate in our chat as well about who may be saving tires or just a little bit of fuel. That is a possibility. 75 minutes is sort of in the no man's land of where you may or may not need fuel. We know that a lot of these guys are able to make it very easily. Some of the other cars over the season, because I covered a few of these races, they for whatever reason weren't able to make it, Ryan. Any reason for that?
I think it has to do a lot with how the BOP is regulated throughout the season, because the fuel tank size is something that a lot of drivers have talked about throughout the course of the season, how it's different at different circuits,
Really?
because of how because of how the BOP is regulated.
Yeah.
So, your tank, which might be 120 liters at one track, might be reduced to 110 somewhere else, and of course, that affects your strategy significantly, because if at one circuit you could go all the way to the end of the race without pitting for fuel. If you have 10 liters taken off your maximum, that all of a sudden changes everything. So, it's going to be interesting. I'm not too sure, what it is for Monza, for example, but we'll have to see what it is, later on in the chat after the drivers have talked to us. It hasn't really been something that was discussed in the Discord in this upcoming week, so I'm likely to think that it's not too much of a problem for the drivers here today. Wolf Matushka, by the way, does have a 15-second time penalty to his name. That is for the accident with Andy Boardman at the start of the race. And, speaking of Andy Boardman, he's also got himself a drive-through penalty for an accident with the number 23 car of Hutchins, which was also on lap 1. So 15-second time penalty for Wolf and a drive-through penalty for Andy Boardman. So not great for both of those drivers, and it's all going Mikael Sundstrom's way at the moment out front.
I just want to read very quickly. I love our stewards for this reason. I want to read you the Wolf Matuszka penalty. It was 15 seconds, but it's not that simple, is it? Because it's lap 1, and there's other considerations our stewards are willing to give. So the 25 took out the 69 at the start of the race. This penalty was reduced due to giving the position back, but it was upped again due to it being a lap 1 penalty. So don't ever say the stewards aren't tough but fair, because they certainly are, and my hat's off to them.
Yeah, and then Andy Boardman was on the other end of the receiving that, where he had contact with the 23, did not return the position, and it got upped because it was a lap 1 incident. So what could have been a 15-second time penalty for the likes of Andy Boardman upped all the way to the likes of a drive-through. And that's just, one of the situations where the stewards are way, way more forgiving. If you are going to give the position back, of course they are more strict towards the start of the race, but if you get the position back, you are likely to get your penalty reduced. Jesse Lee, something I have been noticing throughout the course of the last couple of laps. Does Jordan Daly look like he's catching Abeladze to you? Because the gap is only 0.8 of a second, and Jordan Daly actually has a quicker, faster lap than Abeladze at this point in the race.
So there's a couple things. Night Owl champion Sebastian Bernier in chat says that he's not too sure that these drivers can make it 75 minutes. And that got me to thinking, because I noticed that too. I was like, is Abeladze saving fuel and Jordan Daly isn't because he's got a penalty anyway? Is that possible, I wonder?
Could be possible. We have seen very different strategies, haven't we? If we go back to the European Masters, which we both covered, Jesse, there were some very interesting decisions.
We didn't know anything, apparently, during that. Yeah.
A certain Zolder race where James Parker was fuel saving and about 17 cars weren't, and they were all stuck behind his BMW for about half an hour. So there are... Oh, that's Andy Boardman in the background. That's Andy
they've got
Boardman
some damage or something. Yeah, they got some damage or something. That car was
facing the wrong way.
That car, well, first of all, they're off the track here and there's no grip out there, but it looked wayward prior to that. They've now towed to pit lane, the 69. They were indicating and waving people by. It's just there's something badly wrong with the 69 Lamborghini, so they have brought that into the pit lane, towed, so to speak. But I do remember that race ride. My favorite thing about that is pre-race, we were very adamant. There's no way anyone can make it on fuel. That's insane. It's too big of an ask. And somehow some of the drivers did it. And we immediately, after that race was over, we went and started asking how in the world that was possible. And turns out the drivers were as surprised as we were. So made me feel a little less bad for not having any clue what was going on. This is John Arasser in the 699. We still need to figure out if it's Eraser or Arasser. I refuse to assume his name is John Eraser, the Swiss driver. But
I mean, it's Swiss, so it could be either. Because you and I, we've already established we're not that great with countries we're not familiar with.
Yeah.
Well, I usually handle the European stuff. It's like, but when it comes to Swiss names, I'm not the most familiar, I have to say. But I'm going to go with John Eraser because he hasn't corrected me in the Discord yet. So I'm just going to assume that that's correct.
So here's the thing. That's why I call him Harasser, because I've gotten 4 seasons with John, and I've talked to him several times, and he's never mentioned it. And I know he's been in chat before when I've called his name, and he's never said anything.
Do you ever get the feeling some drivers just don't want to tell us because they like us getting it wrong?
Well, I think they just don't care, to be fair. I think it was like,
that's fair. That's
close enough. It's close enough. So, I mean, maybe John's humble in that way and doesn't care. But either way, the important thing about the 699 is that they had been caught by Nico Kumpo. Speaking of being caught and passed, Rudy Philmotter here trying to get by and getting caught by the 404 behind, who earlier we saw was having a little bit of an issue on the track with connection, but that seems to be all sorted out now. So game on for top 15.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, back
just
at the
looking a
back,
bit further up, Jordan Daly has dropped off of Avaladze now, so I think maybe it was
maybe
just a
Avaladze
couple
made a
of
mistake.
yeah, maybe it might have been just a couple of scrappy laps, but we'll keep an eye on it as well. Avaladze hasn't just disappeared up the road as quickly as they have in the first 3 races of the season, so it is something to keep in mind. And of course, did not take pole um, in this event either, which is didn't take pole in Paul Ricard either. So that's very interesting to see. They took 3 hat tricks in a row and then failed to get pole position in the next 2 races. Interesting to see if we had a third race, the 6th race of the season, would that have been 3 poles, 3 non-poles for the likes of Avaladze? Interesting to know. But John Aracer here being caught by Nico Kumpu, and Kumpu, who is trying to fight their way
is
back.
driving the wheels off of that black number 6.
Well, but Kumpu has to keep, the hope of the championship alive. And, I mean, Jesse, it sounds heartbreaking to say, but we've seen championships decided before by connection error. If there's technical difficulties and something happens to Avaladze's car, or tries to lap a slower car and it all goes wrong, Nico Kumpu needs to be in the best position they can to capitalize on points and try and take that championship win. And to do that, they need to be high up the order as they can be, and that means getting past John Aracer in 6.996, 5th overall at this stage in the race.
More penalties coming through. Drive through for car 46. The number 79 enters T5 a bit late, but is alongside the 46. And the 46 makes no attempt to brake to avoid the 79. So upped for a lap 1 penalty. I'm assuming that would have been a 15-second variety, upped to a drive through. As we're going to take a look here, Ryan Gill. What are your... Ooh.
I agree with that.
It's not Casper the Friendly Ghost, is he? You have to make room.
No. It's that one looks fairly straightforward, doesn't it? And I mean, most of the decisions we've seen them rule on tonight have looked fairly straightforward. They are still judging out on lap 1 incidents, but I think that is it for the lap 1 incidents. Maybe I could be wrong in that. Whoa! As John Aracer goes wide and Nico Kumpu goes even wider.
He's done that 2 or 3 times in a row as Kumpu, trying to dig off that corner, get everything he possibly can out of the Ascari to have a chance down here in Parabolica, but he's never been able to do it. I think he's just trying a little bit too hard. If he would just focus on the Parabolica and get a run down into 1 and maybe compromise Aracer's position, I think that would be his best shot, but he's blowing himself out in Ascari as Kumpu, and he's just once again for the 3rd lap in a row too far back on the front straight.
Yeah, Nico Kumpu, it's a very dangerous game they play by trying to maximize even more of the exit than what John Aracer has been maximizing. A certain Chief Steward Tom Bryant did that with me at the Nordschleife once, and his car ended up on his roof because I overshot the corner, hit the anti-cut curb, and almost went on my roof. And, well, if you can imagine that he took even more of the anti-cut curb and I almost ended up on the roof, there's only one outcome for Tom Bryant on that occasion, and I will bring that up and remind him of it every single time because it was hilarious.
What was the conversation like?
It was great because I realized I had gone too deep and I was going to hit the curb, and I thought, oh, Tom's going to get a run on me here, and the next thing I knew in my mirrors there was a car upside down on the grass, and all I could hear was just sighs from Tom Bryant, who had just realized at that moment in time that his ability to beat me that race had gone.
Can I tell you a Tom Bryant story as we see Wolf Matuszka to overtake Tim Ireland? Of course, Wolf was the pole sitter for ST and had that incident where I think they got into the back of another car and then spun the 69 and now has that penalty, and they're also all the way at the back. So Wolf Matuszka trying to come out through the ST AM field right now, getting a pass done. But I learned something about Tom Bryant as I stewarded more. He sighs a lot, Tom Bryant does, and I never understood why until somewhat recently. I figured it out. He sighs whenever he's disappointed in somebody.
Have you seen how much he uses the pain emote in the staff server?
That's true. Good point.
It seems like Tom Bryant's almost always in some form of disappointment lately, but yeah, we'll hope.
I think we might be a disappointment to him. Yeah.
We'll hope that Tom Bryant cheers up sometime in the near future as we watch Mark Peters and Daniele Ricciardo right now. Carrying on, Daniele Ricciardo leading the AMP class at this point in time of Masashi Kaneko. And, well, looking at the AMP standings right now, Jesse, Ricciardo not really in contention for the AMP championship. I mean, well, they are in contention. They're only about 13 points off, I'd tell a lie. But as it stands right now with the race results, Kaneko would take the championship because they will be earning enough points to offset the fact that Ricciardo is just ahead of them. So at this moment in time, it is all going the way of our Japanese driver, Masatoshi Kaneko. But it could all change in the near future as well. And Rudy Filmalter has not had a great start either. They're sitting third in the Pro class, but down in 15th place. And well, they need to be making up a few more positions to challenge Kaneko for that championship lead. Remember, both of those drivers are equal on points in the AM class, so it's very, very close.
I have a RCI trivia question for you, Ryan. Have we ever in the history of RCI had a Japanese champion?
We have not. I can tell you that one for fact because we have also never had a champion from Asia either. So
that's interesting.
Masatoshi Kaneko could become the very first, not only Japanese, but continental Asian champion in RCI history.
Well, that's good. It's not like we call ourselves Racing Club International.
International, so in the name, isn't it?
It'd be nice if we had some Asian champions to represent Asia. And have we ever had any Australasia champions from the Pacific Islands or Australia, New Zealand?
We have not. The closest was Mia Rose, who I think finished top 3 in one of the championships we did.
Yes.
Finished top 5 in Euro Masters. But yeah, we have not had a winner from Australasia. At least not off the top of my head. And I generally know a lot of these things because I spend a lot of my time looking at the results files.
you do, and that's why I ask you. Ryan Gill is the master of data, and I've seen some of the things he works with. It boggles my mind, but you know what you're doing. For Kaneko, by the way, just to go back to that for a second as we watch this battle for 5th place continue, all Kaneko needs to do is maintain position, don't make a mistake, don't upset anybody, don't get in the way, and don't cause an unnecessary fuss. And I think they're going to have this. They know they're in an excellent position on a day where so many others have struggled. Kaneko has not done that, and Masatoshi is just playing it very cool indeed. So they're doing exactly what they need to do to get that done. And so is John Rasser, by the way, keeping Nico Kumpu behind him. It's been a long time, and the frustration for the 6 has to be setting in. Of course, it wasn't always this hard for the 6 to gain positions. Of course, was down there 8th or 9th earlier and came up quite quickly through the silver field. But now racing pro drivers finding it a little bit more difficult than it was before.
You might be wondering to yourself at home, if you missed the championship standings earlier, why John Racer would be fighting the likes of Kumpu so hard. Well, it's mainly because John Racer is only about 7 points behind Kumpu in the championship, and by keeping Kumpu behind, they're improving their chances of coming way ahead of them in the championship.
They sure are. Everyone has their own agenda. This is the thing about a series finale, especially at a place like Monza, is everybody has their own strategy. They have their own sort of challenge in battle that they're in. And it doesn't matter if it's for 17th or for 1st. Everyone's fighting for something here at the end of the championship. And, you all have to race each other, despite the fact that you're all working on different things. So we talked about Kaneko a minute ago. Again, keep in mind, points are in division, not class here, basically. So ST Field has one set of points and the GT3 field has another set of points, and they're not different for the many different classes, Pro, Silver, and AM. So this would help Kaniko's chances if they could get by Durrett in the 30, as being very calm about it, being very deliberate with the movement of the black 740, but still pressuring just a little bit. And in fact has to, because Kingston Lee, who had that off in the second chicane earlier, is right back onto the bumper here, up into the 14th place.
So I can actually tell you right now, if everything stayed as it was, Masatoshi Kaneko would win the championship by 4 points over Rudy Filmalter. And as it stands, Daniele Ricciardo would go third, 2 points behind Filmalter. So, it's very, very close right now. And, that's the thing for Masatoshi. If they lose a position, that takes points away from them on the overall standings, and it brings them closer to the 99 car. And that's the thing that Rudy Filmalter will be hoping for. They'll be hoping that some of the silver cars, just ahead of him, will be challenging the likes of Kaneko for those overall position points. But at the same time, Kaneko's got to keep in mind that you can only keep letting cars go and not fighting cars in a different class for so long until you end up with your AM competitor right on your tail. So it's something that they're going to have to think about, and they're going to have to be really, really careful of, because if you start letting too many cars go, you could end up in a situation where you've kind of backed yourself into a corner, and that's Tim Ireland, who spun around, yellow flags, and did the right thing, stayed still, made sure that
like
the drivers could avoid him.
Oh, yes.
Yep, just lost the back end.
No grip. It's so easy to do that in an ST, Ryan. It's so easy because you don't have the downforce, you do not have the grip or the aero grip, and all you really have is your mechanical grip, and of course also the traction control and all that stuff not great. So you just gas it up, you get to the center of the corner, you get to the apex, you're like, okay, I'm going to go now, and then all of a sudden maybe you're not fully on the line, maybe you're on the dirty line as well, and you just get going backward by accident. By the way, I noticed that Pathusan in the 273 pitted out of the 11th place position as you were going through the points, which will give Durrett, Kaneko, Kingston, Filmalter, and all the rest some positions. Meanwhile, something else I noticed, Wolf Matuszka has an additional 5-second penalty.
They do have an additional 5-second penalty, and that's not going to help Wolf Matuszka in their efforts to try and win the championship here tonight. Looking through the stewarding here, I can see that it is a lap 2, turn 3 incident involving Tim Ireland, in fact. 5-second penalty for the 25 overtake with unnecessary contact. And, here we go. Broadcaster Jake on point here today. And, yeah. Wolf did they just touch the curb a bit there on the inside, and that just pushed Tim Ireland a bit? Oh, and as we rejoin to live scenes, Tim's
having issues.
Yeah, he's not gone well through the chicane there. Oh, we've just caught the end of this, unfortunately. I think maybe they've just outbraked themselves and had to go slowly through what's left of the debris of that maze that someone has taken out. And
the arrows were a suggestion to somebody, those foam arrows that you're supposed to serpentine through. Tim just didn't really recover from that spin, did they? So it's hard after you've maybe flat spotted, put too much heat in the tires as well to brake the car in a reliable way. Maybe did that and had to go straight through, but no more harm or foul. But Tim Ireland having a bit of a struggle of it as of late. Got some other penalties, just want to quickly run for you, just to keep you up to date. A 5-second penalty for the 777 for avoidable contact while giving room to another car. That was versus the 350. No further action for a incident between the 23 and the 141. So Tim Ireland's been all over the place in this one. Racing incident, a small tap with an overtake between the 273. That's the car that I was mentioning had come down the pit lane in car 99. 15-second penalty for car 300, goes to lap the 777, misjudges speed in turn 2, and then takes out the 777. That explains why the 777 is where they are in the running order as well, as we continue to watch some of these replays.
Oh, yep. That one's fairly slammed dunk.
Yeah, you just want to gas up. You just want to gas it up, Ryan. That's all that is. You have apex. You assume the car in front of you is apex, but rather unfortunately, it's not always like that.
It's a very typical situation of you just want to get the car going, and you've got a slower car in front of you that's in a different class. They can't get out of the way any quicker than they're trying, and it's just being a bit too eager. It's just being a bit too impatient, and it's one of the things that a lot of drivers, across all categories seem to struggle with in multi-class racing. It's just being able to navigate your way through traffic, when inevitably they are going to hold you up at times. It's just one of the things you have to accept. But yeah, just a bit of impatience there by the looks of it.
Well, Abeladze with the championship lead had some work to do at the start of this race, but has done that magically. 20 laps in, leads by 5.5 seconds over Jordan Daly, who has a 15-second penalty. Barzaghi has begun to close back in on Daly ever so slightly. Eraser is now in the 4th place position and holds on to that position over Nico Kumpu in 5th. Kuzma, Ricciardo, Durrett, Kingston Lee, and Kaneko are the top 10 as more and more cars are coming to pit lane. Ricciardo, the newest car in the 931 to come down the pit lane. This is probably just a splash and dash, I would assume.
I would think so, and having a look at some of the broadcasting times would probably suggest that as well. But, some drivers going for a splash and dash. Wolf Matushka was asking earlier in the Discord, though, about possible tyre swap for some of the Super Trofeos. Mikael Sundstrom said that he didn't believe so. I mean, Wolf Matushka at the moment not really in the situation where a tyre swap wouldn't really help his chances at all. But maybe the likes of Mikael Sundstrom, with the kind of lead that he has at the moment, if he has to come in for a fuel stop anyway, maybe he'll put some new tyres on, just fresh set of tyres, get him to the end of the race nice and comfortably, because these Super Trofeo cars, once you wear down the tyres on these things, they really, really are hard to drive. And when you're trying to secure a championship, a car that is a pain to drive is not something that you need right underneath you.
I was getting coached driving the STs once, and I slid the tires when they were cold, and I was told to immediately take those tires off and put new ones on. I was confused why that was an issue, and then I very quickly learned that fact of like, you do that and sometimes you're done. We saw Tim Ireland do that earlier, and maybe that's a little bit of what they were dealing with as well, is they don't rebound, do they, the ST tires? Once you've hurt them, whether that be through natural degradation or flat spots or overheating them. They just sort of, once you anger them, they kind of live in that state. Stefan Van Aken here trying to get the position over the 273, but not going to happen. 273 has that place. And of course, they've been down pit lane.
Stefan Van Aken doing well today, though. I mean, let's point that out. Second in pro class at the moment for the Belgian.
Yeah, I mean, second of all as well, doing a really good job and trying for a moment, actually, I'm pretty sure Pethusen was the one passing Van Aken trying to get back to the front because of the pit stop. But nevertheless, like you said, second in that class, doing an absolutely excellent job, was able to avoid any early race mishaps, and it's just sort of sat in this second place in ST class, has a few GT3s in between him and the group. Turning up the wick is Abeladze, by the way. I mentioned 2 laps ago that gap was 5.5 seconds. It's 6.9. And by the way, Barzaghi in second place, as serving the 15-second penalty was Daly. That dropped him all the way out of the top 10. He is in 11th place now. Not really near anybody, but will somebody try to make it today? We've seen a good mix of middle of the pack and front runners already hitting the eject button, coming down pit lane, putting fuel in the car. Could somebody try and make it here?
Well, it's quite clear to me that some of them have gone for a half and half strategy if they're pitting this early, because usually you want to pit as late as you can. and so some of them not opting to do that. We've got the
Oh,
replay here.
Masatoshi.
Ooh,
Oh,
just clips it, but that's not too bad actually.
it's not bad.
It's on the front quarter panel. It's not the worst place in the world to pick up damage. It would be much worse if it was direct contact on the front or the rear of this car. And that is damage. Ooh, don't want to go too much further off there. Don't want to hit that curb. But that is damage that if they feel they need to fix, they can fix in a pit stop if they have to serve one. If they don't, then that is damage that you could carry to the end of the race, and it won't really hurt your pace too much. But a bit of a lucky escape there from Masatoshi Kaneko, and more importantly, is the fact that Rudy Filmalter is actually ahead of them at this point in time on track. So this kind of puts things into a bit more perspective now for Masatoshi Kaneko. As it stands, they are no longer winning the championship, because the driver they are split level on points with is now ahead of them on track.
Oh, that's such a frustrating feeling. I was just going to say for Kaneko's sort of own senses is I've hit that wall in Ascari 100 million times in F1 games, and I can confirm, not a big deal at all. Hit that wall. There's a lot worse accidents you can have in Ascari, certainly, but the damage done here as Phil Malter now in front of Kaneko, and that was the big thing earlier. I was talking about Kaneko. All they needed to do is hold serve, hold station. Well, they haven't been able to do that to this point, and now Rudy Filmalter leading in that class. And of course, wouldn't need to be a mathematician to know that if you're coming tight and you're ahead of the guy you're racing, you are leading the championship. And Filmalter not settled, trying to get more positions, put more space between him and the 740, and in fact is going to get it done up into 8th place, past Peters in the 27, passing the silver car, and more space. Could we be seeing a bit of an upset here? Filmalter, that was so calm and collected and so sort of just hanging out in 3rd place in GT3 AM for the entire first stanza of this race, now finds themselves in the lead in their class, and you have to wonder, are they going for it?
Yeah, but 31 and a half minutes to go, Jesse. Anything can still happen in this race when it's so close. And, well, it has to be said that Rudy Filmalter will be feeling confident right now, but they need to keep themselves focused right towards the end of this race. They do have a buffer now with the likes of Mark Peters in the number 27 between them and Masatoshi Kaneko, but we've seen brilliant pace from both of these AM class drivers this season to punch above their weight. And, you know, I expect to see both of these cars in the silver class next year. The top 3 from, each class get promoted up into the next class up, if at all possible. And they get auto qualification into the next RCI Monday Championship, which has already been announced, by the way, if you hadn't seen it already on the Discord. It is Season 3 of the Porsche Cup, and it will be the final Monday Championship to see out the season. We have a new pre-qualifying format, actually, as well for this championship, debuting for the first time. It's an open qualifying session, so servers are open for 2 full weeks. You can go in and set laps at any time you like. There are 2 servers, one for Monza and one for Misano. Basically, you just need to set a minimum of 10 laps on each server, and your fastest laps from each server will be combined to make up your combined time, which will be used to allocate you a class and split for the season. So Season 3 of the Porsche Cup, beginning on November 8th. Sign-ups are open right now, and sign-ups will be open throughout the entire pre-qualifying window. So get yourself signed up if you like the Porsche Cup, and if you like the racing you're seeing on here, if you want to possibly be on the broadcast yourself next season, well, you might just have the chance to do so if you do well enough. So get yourself signed up. There'll be some fantastic racing. It's the Porsche Cup, Jesse. It never disappoints, does it?
No, it doesn't. It was an absolute hit for the first series. Some of the first races I ever did with you was Porsche Cup. I was brought in was brought in sort of as an alternate for that, and it just blew my mind. I ended up watching the entire series. Michael in chat earlier was asking about some upcoming series. Well, there you go, Michael. Get yourself signed up for some Porsche Cup action. It's ever bit as good as the Lamborghini Cup has been, and I don't have a statistic for this, but I'm pretty sure most Porsche Cups come down to the wire in most of the classes. So we've had upsets, we've had last lap passes that define championships, we've had complete drama throughout some of the Porsche Cup seasons, and it's unpredictable as well. And
Well,
you're going to want to
put it
see
into
that.
perspective, we saw Jardier in the very first Porsche Cup race, as we see Suamiden and Dorber just going a bit toe-to-toe here. We saw Jardier in the very first Porsche Cup race, the very first one we ever ran. He qualified on pole, spun on the last corner of the formation lap.
He loves that we bring this up, by the way.
Started last and won the race by 0.5 of a second to Chris Hooker.
Yeah. It wasn't even the last lap pass. It was after the lap. It wasn't even the last third pass. He passed him coming to get the checkered flag. Folks, think about this. There were 25 plus cars in that race, as I recall. He was on pole.
30 or more, I think.
Yeah,
more than that.
He spun, did the smart thing, Jardier. He spun, he sat there, let the entire field of 30-some cars go by, immediately went to work, and like the tactician he is, at the end, Chris Hooker, who I thought was going to win that race handily, ended up getting beat off the final corner, just had a better exit than Jardier, pulled up beside him, and ended up just getting him at the line. I lost my mind. That was the most insane thing. To this day, every time I interview that man, I bring that up. It's the single-handed most heroic piece of driving I've ever seen.
It is one of the best drives I've ever seen from a sim racer, and that says something because there have been some very, very fantastic drives throughout the sim racing community across any sim, whether it's iRacing, Assetto Corsa Competizione, R Factor 2. There have been some fantastic drives, and drives that people will remember in esports series to community races, and that one is right up there for me. In a spec series as well, where it comes all down to skill. Jardier reigned supreme on that race. You can still watch that race, by the way. If you go onto the RCI YouTube channel after this race.
It's Laguna Seca, yeah.
Yep, Laguna Seca of the very first Porsche Cup. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the videos, it shouldn't be that long ago, and you can go and watch that. And it was absolutely fantastic. It was well worth the watch. And I mean, I think myself and Thomas Crab were actually left speechless as he crossed the line. It was something else indeed. But you can go and watch that race. And I kind of do feel bad that we kind of spoiled it, but it's the kind of race that if I hadn't told you the story in the first place, I don't think I could have convinced you to watch it.
I mean, my whole thing with that whole race is we see Mishka continue to be under fire here, losing a couple of positions in the SCAR, maybe just losing the one position as Dauber tries to get through, and this may end up being a 3-wide situation, and it will, as they all fight for position going down into the Parabolica as they sort of sort it out a little bit. What I was going to say was, if you would have just told me that Jardier and Chris Hooker, who is an excellent world-class driver in his own right, if they had a fight in a spec race series, I'd watch that. But if you told me that Jardier basically spin and win, but in the grandest of fashions at probably one of the most technical racetracks you can have in ACC.
One of the hardest tracks to overtake on as well.
In a Porsche!
Swimming in a door, but just have a slight bit of contact down towards turn 1. I mean, Laguna Seca of all places, of a circuit that is notorious for difficult overtaking because it's not very wide. There aren't many chances. I mean, Jardier brute forced his way up the field, and he did it fairly as well. There was live stewarding for that race, and the hats off to the man. He did himself proud in that one, as Stefan Van Aken here just letting one of the GT3 cars through, and will be looking to maintain his position at this point in time. We look further up the field to see Nico Kumpu, who is in 10th place. Jordan Daly, after serving that penalty, just behind them now. So Well, the penalty's done exactly what it was supposed to do, Jesse Lee. It's put Jordan Daly back behind Nico Kumpu, which is where he should have been if the incident hadn't have happened. So it's good to see that the penalty has definitely fit the crime in this occasion. Jordan Daly getting his braking all wrong and almost creating a second incident of the day with Nico Kumpu. He is going to slow down and go through what is left of the maze fairly slowly and should rejoin behind Nico Kumpu. Let's see, how close was this?
Oh my goodness! Nico Kumpu is going to message Jordan Daly and say, "Why do you hate me specifically?" But near contact,
a good look at the back of his car.
So for me, all that was Jordan Daly breaking up behind a car. He hasn't really done that this race, where he's been breaking. If he has been that close to a car, he's been pulling out to pass. So in the draft, coming into a corner, it absolutely matters. It carries you more.
Here we go, Jesse. Sorry to interrupt. Masatoshi Kaneko has come into the pit lane to serve their pit stop. So they have decided that they have to take a pit stop. And that is interesting.
Most of the drivers have at this point.
Yep, they have come out behind Daniele Ricciardo. So they are down into third in the AM class. Way down in the standings now overall, though. But the important point is going to be Rudy Philmalter. What is their plan? What happens now? Can Rudy Philmalter go to the end? If Rudy Philmalter can get to the end of this race without pitting, that is championship done and dusted. I don't think it's possible, Jesse. I think he's going to have to pit today. 75 minutes at Monza, where you spend... Oh, there's someone's going off on the grass, but 75 minutes at Monza, where you spend the majority of your time foot down on the throttle. It's going to be hard to save enough fuel to not, have to come in for a pit stop around here. We have 22 and a half minutes to go. But, whoa, that's Abeladze!
Abeladze goes over the curb. Carlos does the same, and they're monster trucking through a scary right there, a scary moment. And how much damage would that have done to Abeladze's car? I could see clear under the car.
I was going to say, if you wanted a good look at the underside of a Lamborghini, you definitely got it here. We're going to see another suspect here.
Oh, baby! Climbs up the back of Carlos there a little bit. Just misjudged it?
I have to say that to me, that falls on Abeladze's shoulders, the responsibility for that incident there, because he was just trying to make a gap that didn't really exist, as I believe it was Sontag was already turning into the corner. It's wasn't exactly like Sontag could have just moved out of the way. So I don't know, to me that kind of falls a bit on Abeladze's responsibility. Lost them some time, probably got them a bit of damage as well.
He must have thought Carlos was going to give him the corner. Carlos did not. Ended up taking evasive action, or maybe he just missed it. Maybe he just went too far to the inside.
Might have missed his braking point and tried to go to the inside to avoid him, but either way, a bit of a tense
That's a scary moment.
Tense moment for the championship leader and the other car involved. I mean, you'd be terrified if you saw that in your mirrors, but Abeladze has carried on, and well, they'll know by now what damage they have, and for our sake, we'll hope that it's not too much. But yeah, definitely a very scary moment. And Sebastian Brunier in chat saying a little Senna moment from championship leader.
Yes.
And a very good reference, that one, Sebastian.
That's a new record for us, by the way. We made it, 40 minutes with Ryan Gill and I in the booth, and we didn't bring up Formula One right up until just now.
I do want to get through an entire stream, don't worry.
Oh, it'll say something about Formula One. This season's been excellent. It's continued to be excellent, and this round this weekend is also going to be excellent. Michael Redford said that he was on your recommendation, Ryan. He was scrolling through the channel's past VODs and found the Maserati GT4 Cup we did.
Oh, yeah.
And now, Michael Redford, that was an excellent series with absolutely no issues. Come on.
I mean, it was one race, but let's, there were interesting outcomes in that race, is all I will say. But yeah, if you do want to have a look through some of the older streams, as we watched Tim Ireland just letting Matthew Kingston lead Tobias Sontag through, if you want to have a look through all of the previous streams, by the way, definitely go and check them out. There are a couple of series that myself and Jesse Lee can recommend, mostly because we've covered the majority of the series.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, if you want
so good,
if you want a one-off race to watch, one that I can recommend so much because it was chaos on the track, in the steward's box, and in the commentary box. I will not spoil what happened, but go and watch the Lamborghini versus Ferrari event at Misano. I think it was in the rain. Go and watch that race in your free time, and just watch chaos ensue in the best way possible. It is the best. It is the best race. One of the best races I have ever seen. And it was one of the best commentary sessions I have ever enjoyed as well. It was absolutely fantastic. Obviously, I won't spoil what happened, but it's at Misano. It's in the rain. And it is absolutely fantastic, and it is well worth watching, and I'm sure Billy Octane and Harry Conway would tell me the same thing again.
I had to go back and watch that race on replay, and oh my goodness, yeah, I don't think I could top that for a recommendation. I probably would recommend the Jardier race, the Porsche Cup race at Laguna Seca. It's a car and a combination that you wouldn't usually think of as being interesting, but again, that race was just... the entire race, it was just, will they? Can he? How did he?
Another good recommendation, European Masters at Zolder was a fantastic one to watch as well.
It was! Yeah, sure. Oh, my goodness.
That was a brilliant race to watch as well with James Parker with the fuel-saving strategy. That was round 2 of the European Masters. That is a fantastic race that you should also watch in your free time. Should you get the opportunity. There are really there are some diamonds amongst the VODs that we have here, and you get those races. You don't get those races all the time, but every once in a while
that's what makes them special.
Yeah, you get a race that it puts a smile on your face, and you're really glad you were in the commentary box that night to commentate on it.
What was that race at Misano that you and I did? I don't think it was Night Owl, but it was like Night Masters or something. And there was like a ridiculous amount of lead changes. Nobody took control of the race. Everyone was surprised that they had to pit at some point.
I think it was one of the Friday championship races off the top of my head.
It might have been, but it was absolutely insane. There was like 5 or 6 cars that all had a shot to win it. They were all leading at different points in the race, and they were mixing it up. It was a really great race, and ever since then I've had such a positive view of Misano. I know it's not a fan favorite for some folk, especially for GT3 racing, more of a bike track. I get that, but oh my goodness, was that race good. I remember that race because it was just you and me jumping out of our seats with excitement. Because
I mean, that is a lot of our races. To be
fair, that's true. That is true. But I feel like you and I think the thing is, you and I, we both love motorsport in general. And I think at some point, even though we're here with the microphone and the headset on, I think we just become fans of some races. And that one specifically, we were broadcasting it, yes, but we were fans at the same time. And that's how you know it's really special. Mark Peters here, going to give up a spot to Jordan Daly, who's on a bit of a charge after their pit stop. There's a couple of cars that have not pitted, Abeladze, Barzaghi, Rasser, and actually, no, that's it, because Kuzma has come down the pit lane in the 7th place car, and Phil Malter, of course, in the 99 has also not pitted. There's a few cars that have also not pitted as well, mixed in with the rest of the group. Mikael Sundstrom still leads in ST Pro, looking like they are champion-elect in that category for the time being, though I'm pretty sure they've pitted as low. Yes, they have indeed pitted, or maybe they haven't. I actually have. Ryan, could you tell me if the 899 has come down pit road? Because with Matushkin
Mikael Sundstrom has not come down pit road on my end, so I have noticed that Abeladze's got a 5-second penalty for that incident with Sontag, by the way. The stewards, as he comes into the pit lane as well, so the stewards decided 5-second penalty was worth for that. And I mean, when you're lapping a competitor, you as the fastest car have the responsibility to make it safe, essentially. And I
Yes.
don't think it was a stretch to say this that we're seeing on the replay right now was not safe.
He was on top
He'd
of
gone over
Carlos
the
there. He was
anti-cut
on top of
curves.
him.
Yeah, it's so I think I don't think it's out of I don't think
Leaders
it's a
in.
stretch. Yeah, but let's say in. I don't think it's a stretch, and we'll be serving that 5-second penalty, by the way. So I don't think it's a stretch to say that, that was unsafe and that it was definitely worth some sort of verdict from the stewards. I mean, they could have given a warning, but I think at the same time they've given a 5-second penalty to probably tell the rest of the grid that will not be tolerated.
Think about Carlos Karate here. What they saw, what they thought, what they felt in their car. Just a car launching at them at full speed, basically into that corner. You would have been caught completely off guard, but well held. And to Abeladze's credit, they didn't mean to do that. They didn't mean to go over that curb and end up on top of another car or, cause a collision. But I mean, it did happen though, and rather unfortunately, a penalty was deemed necessary. Speaking of Karate, here is Sontag trying to get a place from him and can't quite get it done on this occasion. Some other penalties that had come through: no further action, nothing found for a lap 13 incident with the 48. No further action for unstable ping for the 740. That has since smoothed out, I've noticed, so I don't know if that has something to do with it. Unavoidable contact, no further action between the 30 and the 11, and a warning for car 777 for avoidable contact with the 48, no further action for 777, and no further action for door-to-door racing between the 48 and the 777. They've been getting very familiar with one another, and of course also the 5-second penalty you already mentioned. It's been a very quiet day in the stewards box, Ryan Gill.
It's what the stewards would have hoped for, isn't it? Coming to Monza for the final race of the season, they would have wanted a quieter race, and coming into this round, they would have been thinking, it's probably going to be an accident at turn 1. Unfortunately, there wasn't really an accident at turn 1, and they haven't had too much to deal with here tonight either. So they will be happy about that, and the stewards will, of course, be looking forward to the Porsche Cup, which will be starting on November 8th. Ooh, Sir Karate just getting a bit out of shape. Oh, no, that was Sontag, sorry, getting a bit out of shape. But, the stewards will be looking forward to the next championship now. And that was very well done from Sontag.
That was a good save.
I often wonder with the stewards when they sign up to different seasons. I wonder if some stewards, most of them do it based on their availability. So they steward if they're available on a Monday. But I do wonder if some of them maybe have a look at the championship and then they have a look at the track list and think, I'll go for the one that doesn't have Monza or something on it, so I don't have to deal with the possible pile-up incidents that you could potentially get, because they do happen sometimes, and they are a nightmare for the stewards to rule on. But we'll have to see how all of that goes. Rudy Filmalter, by the way, has come into the pit lane, and they've gone for a splash and dash. Splash and dash means that they are still ahead in the pro class, and that means that Masatoshi Kaneko is way behind. 3 places between them, or 3 cars, sorry, between them. Kingston Lee, Durrett, and Patizan. With 10.5 minutes left, I get the feeling, Jesse Lee, that our first ever Japanese champion is going to have to wait another season.
Yeah, but for Kaneko, they have the pace, they have the ability to get it done, and for them, I wonder if they will go to the silver class, what that would be like. But I think they have the possibility to continue to improve and maybe get a championship again. And no, Bozaki has gone big style over the curb, monster trucks and hard into the wall. What happened here? Just got too much of the inside here. Oh my goodness, watch his hard crash.
Oof, and that is not good for Bazagi. That's a significant amount of front end damage on that car. That's going to force them into the pit lane, I would think. or if they are going to continue going around, they are going to lose a lot of time every single lap. And note that car is coming into pit lane as expected. And, well, no surprise there with the amount of damage on the front end of that car. And, oh, what had started out as such a good race for Dario Bazaghi, took pole, led into turn 1, and at the end of the first lap, and it's all gone a bit downhill from there. And it just looks like it's not going to be the ideal end to the season for the number 8 car, as Carlos Quarati continues to defend from Tobias Sontag.
I've had people in the past ask me why 75-minute races is so random. Well, that's exactly why, because if this was a 60-minute race as is standard, that would have never happened to Barzaghi, and that drama would have never unfolded. So why 75-minute races? Well, number one, because you can, and number two, because that last 15 minutes, it all sort of kicks off. I was wondering if Arasser was going to end up trying to go the distance, as they had made it inside 10 minutes. They are not going to do that. The 699 GT3 Lambo in the pit lane, to the attention of that crew for service. That will undoubtedly hand back over the lead to Abeladze in the 579, and he's looking like champion-elect here, Ryan Gillen. Why not?
And it's a stop-go penalty for Bazaghi. Sped in pit lane coming in, and that is it. Back to the garage they go, and garage door down. That is Bazaghi's race over.
Well, it does look like Abeladze champion-elect today, and why not? With the stats like they have had, it's certainly you certainly feel like they deserve it.
For sure. I mean, well, 3 hat tricks to start the season consecutively. I mean, if it wasn't for the unfortunate race at Paul Ricard that Abeladze had, probably would have secured the championship, coming into this round. But, they had to go out there and they had to earn it. They didn't get on pole, and they had to retake the lead of the race, and was under a bit of pressure at one point from Jordan Daly as well. So Abeladze has definitely had to go out there and earn it this time around. Not to say that they haven't earned the results they had in the other 3 races, but it's definitely come their way much harder in the finale than it has in the first 3. And it is always good to see. Oh, what is this?
Do you not know what this is?
Go on,
This is 2 Carloses going at it. This is Carlos on Carlos.
It is, and it's a shame we don't have Carlos Ocelot here, because then we could make it 3 Carlos.
Oh, Ocelot, it's all your fault. But this is a battle for 7th place, and it's 2 Carloses, and going at it, and both 300 numbered cars, 2 different classes. Karate here trying to get by one more spot. Maybe, you don't know. Only. Oh, is it not? Wait, is it not? I thought it was 2. Oh, it is not. Excuse me. The 323 is in front of the 223, and they're both gray. And I thought that was the 300 car. So that's my mistake. It's not 2 Carloses. I wanted it to be, but
Tobias Sontag will now be known as Carlos within the RCI Discord.
Carlos Sontag here is racing the 323.
You know, Jesse, I introduced you today as the new SRO esports commentator, and
yeah.
It's good to know that. I mean, first of all, congratulations on the opportunity to go and.
I'll wait before I say thank you, because I think there's a joke coming.
So, congratulations to start with, but on the topic of that, I mean, how should I put this now? Can we market that now? Can we market you, Jesse Lee? Put you on everything you do now? SRO
let me ask you
certified commentator.
First of all, you could have done you could have done some form of that in the past. Also, I'm not sure SRO would appreciate you using their trademark. Yeah, on things that you can't.
It's not as if I have to work for them as well.
Yeah, it's not as if you were my boss over there, Ranga.
Well, not exactly, but things unfolding in interesting ways. A couple of RCI staff getting some form of employment now in the esports scene. Myself and Mike Jones now working for AK Informatica, and Jesse Lee has got the chance to go over and start doing some esports commentary work. And I believe Tom Bryant is also due to be doing some stewarding soon for SRO.
Yes, he is. I saw him on the roster.
That's not 100% confirmed yet, but he is in there now. But opportunities coming the way of the staff that really have worked quite hard for some of those opportunities. I mean, it does feel like the path is finally there for community staff members to work their way into an esports scene, and it is great that we have 4 staff now. 4 staff from RCI now that have gone on to do esports work. It's a proud accomplishment, Jesse Lee, and you're one of the 4. Congratulations.
Well, I mean, it is, and I do appreciate that, Ryan Gill, and it goes to show just the work ethic and all the work that goes into RCI and how comparable it is. Yeah, Sontag's going to go for it here. Let's see what happens to Sontag.
Karate goes off.
Yeah, Sontag was just following him through there, and, well, he decides that I don't want to cut the corner and climbs the curves again. But in the end, Tobias Sontag does get through, gets that 8th place position, so we won't have that Carlos versus Carlos battle that I ever so wanted here at the end. I was laughing at Ivan earlier. He mentioned Jesse brought the maps to the SRO race. For those of you that were there for that, I do appreciate that as well. And I did. There was a bit of a debate and almost a side bet, if you will, if I would mention that. And it's like, well, I am going to do my part, and my part is sometimes, occasionally, whipping out a calculator and doing the maths. And I'll tell you one strange thing that happened over there, Ryan. I mentioned that I was taking notes, and they didn't quite know how to take that.
Jesse Lee just scaring some of the people over at SRO there. Just thinking,
I think I did.
He's a bit of an alien. We'll have to see if you get contracted out for more work in the future then. Hopefully.
Well, I can do the math. Oh! 2 turns in a row. The Lesmos proving very difficult for Abeladze here. We're going to take a good long look at this. This is the first one.
Whoa. That's some rally.
Actually, that was the second one, but he had missed the first Lesmo as well. So trouble that time through. He's going to have to do it at least one more time, and it will be the last lap. This time it goes off again. You don't want to drive through at this phase.
John Eraser is sitting in 2nd place at the moment in the 699. And if Abeladze's not too careful, the 699 could end up winning this race. And if Abeladze's really not careful, Nico Kumpu could end up second on the on the podium instead of 3rd. But Abeladze will begin the final lap of the race. It's all starting to come together, Jesse Lee. It's all starting to come to an end. The final lap of the season. It is upon us, and it has been a fantastic season as well. Abeladze looks set to take the crown here in the pro class, and you have to say, Jesse Lee, it has been thoroughly deserved, as we discussed earlier on, Abeladze to be the Lamborghini Super Cup champion, and we will look for their return to the Porsche Cup Season 3 in just a few weeks' time as well, where we hope to have some of the more competitive drivers that were in the Super Trofeo class this season back up, completing all in one class, and it should be so close. Not to say it hasn't been close this season, but it has been a fantastic time out as well. Wolf Matushka, who had the chance to challenge for the title here today, doesn't look like that's going to happen. They will start their final lap of the race. They are ahead of Mikael Sundström on the track, but it does not look like Mikael Sundström is going to finish far enough down for it to make a difference, and it looks like the 899 will be clinching the title here today at Monza.
Yeah, and an excellent job for Wolf, honestly, to get back to that position. It looked like it was not going to be the case, but to get all the way back to where they are credit to them. It looks like they're just going to be a little bit short. And what about Phil Malter here, who is in the dying embers of this championship and the dying embers of this race? Rudy Philmalter is going to end up being the AM champion in the final moments. But it's all about Abeladze. 4 wins, 4 podiums in 5 attempts. Nearly perfect driving from Abeladze. Ladies and gentlemen, he is your Lamborghini Super Cup GT3 Pro champion. And what an excellent day it was for the driver of the 579.
So Abeladze takes the honours there, and, well, thoroughly deserved, as you would expect. And that means that they will clinch the Pro Championship. The points being calculated at this point in time. The stewards just finishing off a couple of extra incidents they had in their backlog. But here is Carlos Calatayud, and this will be a phenomenal effort from them. And it looks like that little wiggle across the line, that tells you as much as you need to know. They know that they are going to be the champion for the silver class. And Wolf Matuszka, try as he might, he will cross the line. 20-second penalty to his name, and it will be Mikael Sundstrom who should take the win on the final count. At the end of the day, Wolf will finish second. But it has been a fantastic season in the AM class as well, and Rudy Philmalter will cross the line, and it's not in doubt. AM champion for the South African number 99.
Brilliant result, and needed to be a good one today for Mikael Sundstrom. Was under attack, but had a little bit of a cushion. Wolf Matuszka did everything, but Mikael Sundstrom just was so strong over the season, getting that win in ST Pro. The other championship battles we're going to try and end up confirming for you, but all the results, of course, are unofficial, pending post-race penalties. What a season it was. 5 races. Oh, a little contact there. Oh, is that friendly or not? I wonder, but excellent stuff all considered from this round. It was a fairly clean race, you have to say, and an excellent championship. 5 races down, and what a fitting finish it ended up being. Championship drama right down to the last.
Yeah, and provisional standings for the championship are now in. Vasilev Abeladze confirmed as your pro champion, followed by Nico Kumpu, who will round out the season in 2nd place. And get this, Jesse Lee, Nico Kumpu beats John Eraser to 2nd in the championship by 2 points come the end of the season. So Nico Kumpu's fight back up to the podium really did save them in the end. If they were 1 place lower, they would not have been 2nd in the championship. And wow, that is really, really great to see, that Nico Kumpu fought back and earned that 2nd place in the championship. Jordan Daly conferred 4th place, 5 points ahead of Nico Koizma. Dario Bazaghi, who has DNF'd from the race, will not score points. Carlos Quarati ends on 120. With Thibaut Roskam and Verona on 109 and 102 as they started the day. Your silver class champion is Carlos Calatayud in the 310 points is the gap in the end towards themselves. In 2nd place, Matthew Kingston Lee. And Mark Peters rounds out that championship as well, just 4 points behind Matthew Kingston Lee in 3rd place. And then 6 points behind them is Martin Petizan. And then a bit further down, you have Sontag, Direct, and Latinen. There's also Vlad Will down at the bottom of the silver standings. And of course, in AM, your confirmed GT3 champion, as it was, Rudy Philmalter with 92 points, wins over Masatoshi Kaneko by 9 points in the end. Kaneko in 2nd. Herbert Horser finishes the season in 3rd from Daniele Ricciardo, who just finishes outside the top 3 by 6 points. It made it so close in the end. And Alex Hutchinson with 59, Rob Quantrill with 41, did not show up tonight, unfortunately, and the rest as they were. On to the Super Trofeo, and, well, it is Mikael Sundstrom, as we mentioned before, in the 899, 310 points for the nearly on-pace car. 263 for Wolf Matuszka, finished shy this time around, but will be back for more next season, I am sure. And Joe Dorber finished out the championship in third place with 238 points. Stefan Van Aken, fourth in the championship and fourth overall in the pro class as well. And 191 points was Andy Boardman, who unfortunately retired from the race, and Les Stephenson with 168 to their name in the pro class. Your AM winner, though, for the Super Trofeos, it was the man that led at the start of today, Thomas Baranowski with 201 points, followed by Miska Suominen with 176. Tim Ireland actually finished out the championship in third in the AM class with 146 points here today, followed by Richard Hutchins on 117, Abakumov with 97, and then, of course, Joe Gleason and co did not show up today, so they did not score points. Those are your official champions. Well, officially provisional, should we say? But I do believe that there won't be any post-race penalties, or if there are any, I don't think they're going to be significant to any of the final race results. So there you go. Then the season comes out to a close. The Lamborghini Super Cup is over, and well, it has been a fantastic time. The Porsche Cup is not long away. November 8th is when it starts. Sign-ups went live this afternoon. The open qualifying servers open tomorrow, by the way, if you are interested. So get yourself signed up, and you can get yourself onto the qualifying servers and start setting your laps. You need 10 valid laps on each track, and your fastest lap on each track will be combined, and then you will be allocated a class or split. We hope to see as many of you there as possible. We hope to see as many of you here again next season for the Monday broadcasts as well. I will be here. I'm pretty sure Jake Boswell will be here. Jesse Lee, we don't know if you'll be here yet, but you usually like to make some guest appearances throughout the season, so I'm sure we'll see you at some point. And if not, I'm sure you'll be watching on at home as well, as you always do. But a big thank you to all the drivers and all of you guys at home today, for watching the finale and for watching the whole season as well. Big thank you to Race Department for helping RCI get founded and be possible in the first place. Big thank you to AK Informatica. All of our races are run on their servers. Driver 61, you can learn to drive like the pros for as cheap as $10 through the Sim Racing Academy, and you can save 25% with the affiliate code in the description. Also, if you want to buy some Fanatec gear and support RCI at the same time, you can do so with the Fanatec affiliate link down in the description as well. And Sim Racing GP, if you fancy starting up a community of your own at some point, whether it's for your friends or to start doing some similar stuff like we do around here at RCI, Sim Racing GP might just be the perfect platform for you. So go and check them out. As for us, well, that's the season done. We will go into hibernation mode, or at least I will, until the start of the Porsche Cup. And of course, as we said before, we hope to see as many of you there as possible. Big thank you to the stewards here today who've done an absolutely fantastic job. Thank you to Jesse Lee and Jake Boswell for joining me here tonight in the commentary box. Thank you everyone at home, and enjoy the rest of your week. We look forward to seeing you for the Porsche Cup next season.